Well, hello there. I'm Jim Harrington. It's another day.
And I'm Bill Knight. Wait, let me look. Yeah, I think it is. I'm pretty sure.
It's Friday.
Yes. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Hey.
Turn on the disco lights, baby. We're dancing. We're going to party.
Oh, there's a sight you don't want to see. Hey, before we get into the meat of the show, a couple of things, some house cleaning here. Housekeeping, not house cleaning.
What did I leave out?
No. We should discuss what we talked about last night.
Oh, yeah. You're a bad boy, by the way. Now I'm the guy with the loose lips that will sink ships. And then I get the second text, and I think there's a third one now, but the second text that YouTube.
Yes.
Actually, it's Google. It's Google.
Yes.
And they said that we were bad boys, specifically you, because of misinformation, Jim.
What did I do wrong? Tell me.
Well, apparently, now I went back and looked at episode 96, which if you look, it's the $44 billion to the Ukraine.
Right.
And I defended all of this, by the way, and they said, you were doing misinformation on the election. So I said, wait a minute, I was part of the show. I remember. I don't remember us talking about the election.
Right.
Right at the front, you were talking about something.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, yeah, and that leads a lot of people that have believed that the election was fake, and I tend to believe it, but that's my opinion.
Right.
That is an opinion.
Uh-oh.
That's free thought.
Uh-oh. So what happened? The censor guards got me?
They took out their knives. They took down the show. They suspended the account for 2 weeks, and they closed it. So when you went to It's Another Day on YouTube,
yes,
you got these Chinese videos of cartoons. I'm like going,
you think
you're going to take it down. You're going to put Chinese stuff up.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, so is that the opposite.
So I challenged it, and I sat there and I said, well, it takes about 3 or 4 days. And they answered it right away. But my challenge basically said, did we do political story on the election? Actually, no. We talked about the $44 billion. Yes, we did. And it's a true story. We talked about the shooting. I said, and we had an opinion on that. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a true story. And there was something else that we talked about. And I said, true story. I said, but I thought we lived in America and we had freedom of speech and opinion, right? Right?
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me.
So, I challenged it and and left it at that. And I said, oh, by the way, I said, because we got yanked once before and got back up. I said, oh, by the way, at the front of they call it the thumbnail, and then you have a little description.
Right.
At the front of that, I said, listen before banned. I did that as a joke. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, by the way, the listen before banned on there, in parentheses, bait. And then also they said, if you want to challenge this, you can check the legal department. I said, maybe legal representation wouldn't be a bad idea considering it's harassment and freedom of speech.
Right.
I'll be damned if they had an opinion in an hour. They said rejected, but the site came back up. Mm-hmm. Now that video or the show was gone.
Gone, yes.
And we can't post for 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, really, you know what? That just put a wrinkle in my shorts, considering we're on about 20 different sites. You know what, YouTube, Google, I can really give a rat's ass about you guys.
Well, here's the thing. I have one word for YouTube. Rumble.
Rumble. Get her. Rumble. And you know what?
True Social.
I did see one interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some of the episodes. It takes a while to build the YouTube channel. I did notice that one show that you got flagged for.
I was a bad boy.
You're a bad boy. But the viewers in 1 hour's time was phenomenal. It was going through the ceiling. So apparently that show tripped a trigger. Well, what are these guys doing?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to punish them. But this is a norm in with Google. It's a norm apparently with Microsoft. They're being flagged right now because they're apparently censoring searches of politically sensitive Chinese personalities. Now, why would they do that? Is there some kind of influence or money going on here that they're protecting?
Who knows? But here's the thing: we can't post for another 2 weeks. Is that what
we can post everywhere. We can't post there. We'll be on Rumble.
Right,
we're in
right. But we can't post on YouTube for 2 weeks. So what we're going to do when we get back in 2 weeks, and we can tell you, you're our friends, is we're going to use YouTube in a different way. We're not going to use YouTube as a destination. We're going to use it as a promotional tool. Mm-hmm. We're going to post every day. We'll post a promo. Don't forget to join us on itsanotherday.com for our latest episode. We have some interesting conversations, stuff like that, where we're not going to get into trouble because we're just going to promote our show. We're not going to air the show anymore on YouTube because I don't particularly like being censored by some 20-year-old dweeb out in Simi Valley, California, who is basically a socialist. I mean, you saw the video we had the other day, right? Of Project Veritas. They did an expose of a Twitter executive who essentially said they're commies. He said we're commie. We're commie.
Well, Instagram is a girl that is a young girl that posts. She doesn't post nude pictures. She does, but she does. She sells sex.
Provocative, yeah.
Right. She does that, and her account got yanked. She even she did the girls on Girls of Podcast or something like that. Mm-hmm. Sexy videos, but nothing risque. And there are some that just do vulgar stuff. But Instagram
That's
said,
okay.
We're gonna.
I mean that I've seen on YouTube some videos, Bill, that shouldn't be seen.
Well, I've heard tell of stuff like that.
Yeah, I know you have.
But anyway, Instagram yanked her, and she said, "This is BS." So she started looking around, and then she started contacting them. And then when she got ahead of them, or hold of them, they said, "Well, they would love to meet her."
Mm-hmm.
Well, they would put her account back on if she would sleep with him. So she did.
Oh, wow.
And that's how she got it back on. It was all over the news.
Wow.
And then she said, oh, by the way, if you get an account yanked, you got to get to the higher ups. And if they reject you, you do it again. You refile the protest, and it goes down the line until you find somebody that is, sensitive to, oh, this is BS. We'll put them back up. So in other words, there is no when you go in.
Oh yeah. It's the whim. It's the whim of the censor in these places.
Yeah. And this is America. The last time I checked, the land of the free, the brave, and the free speech. And it's wrong. It's gone. And it's the Googles, it's the Microsofts, it's the Instagrams. Twitter's still attacking. The big board is attacking Elon Musk. As a matter of fact, right now, anything conservative, they've got the knives out on Elon. As a matter of fact, they pulled up an old story.
I got to read you something, Bill, about Elon, okay? Before I forget. Right. Elon Musk tweets in agreement that he knew Twitter was fudging its numbers and lying about it before he offered to purchase it. Listen, he said, last week Elon Musk tweeted that his purchase of Twitter was put on pause so he could examine if their claims of less than 5% fake spam accounts were accurate. Well, he went on and on and on and on, but here's a tweet that John Rich, the country singer.
Yeah,
Big and Rich. He wrote on Twitter, I have to think Elon Musk knew this was the case before he moved on Twitter. If Twitter lied about how many actual users they have to the SEC, we're looking at a company that has perpetuated fraud on its shareholders and advertisers. Big trouble for the Twitter commies. Elon Musk responded to John Rich, replying, 20% fake/spam accounts, while 4 times what Twitter claims. Could be much higher. And my offer was based on the Twitter SEC filing. And then he added in another right below it. He said, absolutely, meaning big trouble for the Twitter commies. Absolutely. I get the impression that Elon Musk actually went into the deal knowing that this was the case, and it's almost like a sting operation. They put Twitter in a awkward situation, Bill.
Yes, and I think it puts the Googles, the Microsofts, and everybody in that same boat because they're all guilty. Biden, Biden, he won by the biggest landslide ever. And okay, you say that, okay.
If we were going on YouTube, would be yanked from this episode because mentioned
I said Biden and election. Biden and election, and I didn't say anything about anything. So screw you, YouTube. And Google, there's what you can do with it. But the point is, you cannot deny this. The bots are Biden's fan base. It was bots. And now he's got so he was tweeting the bots, but they were taking that and saying, well, this is Biden. And look at all these supportive people here. He was supported by bots.
They said that 49.5% of his, quote, fan base, his followers, were bots.
Well, amazing. So if you have bots in Twitter and social media, surely there's no bots in elections. It's a question. It's not an opinion. It's a question. Legitimate.
In the meantime, some little dweeb in California is listening to our show and unceremoniously yanking it because he doesn't like something we said.
We're on the radar, and if there's a little dweeb in California that doesn't agree with it, I would kindly say, you know what, dweeb, I'd love to meet you in person. And we can discuss this like men or whatever you identify as. I mean, you could identify as a fluid dweeb. You're a fluid dweeb.
Well,
there you go. That was politically incorrect, and I stand behind what I just said.
So listen, friends, here's the story. We can't publish on YouTube for the next 2 weeks, so who cares? But you can get us everywhere else. You can get us on our own website. We'll always be there.
Yes.
It's anotherday.com. That's there. That's ours. And then we're on Podbeam and Anchor, and we're on Spotify. We're on iTunes and iHeartRadio, and where else are we at? We're on everything, right? We're all over the place.
Yeah, we're pretty much on everything. There's a couple of more out there that are saying, oh, yeah, let's get you on here.
Yeah.
You know what I would really love, but, we're not there yet. We don't have that kind of personal money in our pockets.
What?
But you never know. We could have somebody out there that listens.
Right.
I would love for somebody, because I thought about it yesterday. I said, the one way to beat the Googles and all of that of the world, when we first started out in this internet thing, and you had a computer, you had your own software, and that was your surfing browser. It was resident in your computer.
You did?
Yeah.
Really? Tell me more about the history of the internet, Dad.
Well, we rubbed sticks together and we built a fire. But either way, that was how it worked. You had your own browser. But then these Googles and the big platforms came along and said, we got all this stuff. But now they have control of you. It's too bad that we couldn't go back to working on the individual level. And if you want certain features, it's a module you drop down. But better than that would be, like you said, we have Podbean, which still is a thing that we buy into, but we're not censored.
Right.
It would be lovely to sit there and have somebody come along and say, we're going to open up a platform, a computer system that's yours.
Essentially, Truth Social is supposed to be exactly that. It's uncensored. It gives you the right to say what you want to say, whether they like it or not. They're being quite open. I think their only limitations are profanity and indecency, things like that. The old standard things that would be considered objectionable, not the new stuff that, quote, politically is objectionable. So you're going to probably see us more. We haven't got it yet, but we're going to start posting on Truth Social if we can get an account up. I post the stuff on my account on Truth Social every day.
Right.
but it doesn't draw much because people. I don't have very many followers yet. It's only been around for goodness knows how long. So, but I think that's going to be a resource for us in the coming months. True
Well,
Social. Getter's doing phenomenal, right, for us?
Who?
Getter.
Getter, yeah, we're getting we got close to 1,000 followers there, which is good. I mean, that's not great, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in the hundreds of thousands of people that check out the site. Well, I guess it's to see that nice picture of a microphone that we have there.
Yes, well, it is a nice microphone. You have
It
to admit
really
that,
is.
yes.
I mean, and that microphone cost me
Yes.
nothing. So it's just a picture is all it is. But it's a nice looking microphone. You should look at it.
So, friends, here's a story. You got to tell your friends to listen to It's Another Day. You may not always find us on YouTube. As a matter of fact, in the future, I think you'll see more promos for our show on YouTube than the actual show. They have no issue with that, right?
So far. But you know what? I think anytime they see somebody growing in a political direction with anything that they don't agree with, they're going to find a way to get rid of it. But you know what? Sometimes when we do these promos, if we have a funny little jab to throw at somebody, oh, trust me, it'll be in the promo. I can't help myself.
Speaking of funny little jabs, George Bush.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, George W. Bush, suffered a brutal Freudian slip. He was speaking, not sure exactly where he was. I think it was at a foundation that he's involved with. And he was up in front of the crowd, and he was talking about how that big bad Putin is doing terrible things in the Ukraine. And he was really getting into it. And here's what George Bush said.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway. 75.
Did you hear what he mumbled in the first time? The first time he mumbled, he said, Iraq 2, meaning the one he did.
Yeah.
Iraq 2. And a lot of people, including President Trump, think that Bush had no business going into Iraq. And when you look back in retrospect, a lot of people, including myself, think that maybe we had no business being there. We had no business. We were going in there for what? Saddam Hussein?
Right.
And most of what they said he had, the weapons of mass destruction, he didn't have. They never found any proof that he had weapons of mass destruction. So we lost 5,000 men, nearly 5,000 men. The Iraqis lost, I think it was 175,000 people in that war because of that war. And what did we get out of it? I mean, President Trump said, heck, this guy, he didn't even negotiate a deal for the oil. We should have at least, if we got in there because we saved their hide, we should have at least been able to work out some kind of sweetheart deal for Iraq's oil. And this guy didn't do that.
Yeah, and there's a good question. You know, we always get in these wars, and there's oil involved and fuel and energy. But we never do anything, We never get what we're fighting for, even though we supposedly won. So what the hell are we really doing there?
I know. It doesn't make any sense. Many times. Now, the other thing that doesn't make any sense, and I used to wonder about this even when I was a young man. I used to wonder, why does Ted Kennedy think that he has a right to be president because his last name is Kennedy?
Geez, here we go.
Why did George Bush, George W. Bush, think he had a right to be president just because his dad was president? And why did Jeb Bush think that he should have been president as opposed to Donald Trump? Almost as if they took it personally, like you were taking my presidency away from me. To this day, the Bushes hate Trump. George and
Oh,
Jeb.
yeah.
They hate Trump.
Well, they were a Republican political dynasty.
Right.
It's like, thanks to John Kennedy. I mean, I remember people saying his name was bigger than the Pope. It just
He was thought of, well, you know what they called his administration, Bill? Camelot. They called it Camelot.
I'm sorry. He was a war hero, and I'm going to uncloak here because
You're going to uncloak?
his PT boat got sunk, and they survived on an island. Now, they survived.
Yes.
And he was the commander, and he saved his crew. And for that, he needs to be thanked and honored. But that is a different thing than a hero in my mind, because his boat took a wrong turn and met the bow. His plywood boat met the bow of a big Japanese cruiser, and they sunk.
Yeah, well, Donald Trump got into a lot of trouble because he criticized John McCain.
Well, he blew up a lot of planes on the decks.
But he criticized John McCain because he was captured. He said, I like people who are winners. Donald Trump can be a little hard-edged. He can be a little rough on the edges. Basically, it's true. What was John McCain's claim to fame? He was a pilot who got shot down and spent a number of years in the Hanoi Hilton, basically being cooperative with the North Vietnamese.
Yeah, but he was a hotshot pilot that took chances, and, he always danced out of it, but there's all the evidence that shows that he was responsible for the stupid destruction of planes because he was a hotshot.
You would think that a guy who had been in a war, like John McCain had been, he'd be a bit of a pacifist as he got older. You think a lot of guys that I knew, like my dad was in the Battle of the Bulge in Germany, and he was a forward observer. He saw a lot of nasty things. And when he came home, like a lot of guys in World War II, he just put it behind him and got on with his life and basically was kind of a pacifist. I mean, he never shied away from a fight, but he didn't go looking for it. John McCain, he never saw a war he didn't want to fight. He encouraged us to be in Iraq. He encouraged us to be in Afghanistan. And he would go to places with Lindsey Graham, who was his acolyte, and he became, Lindsey Graham's just like that now. Lindsey Graham, he thinks this Ukraine war is great. I love these guys. They just passed $44 billion to going to the Ukraine to protect their borders, and we're being invaded in the south, and these clowns are doing nothing. These are the most useless bunch of politicians I've ever seen in my life. Boy, that would get me yanked from YouTube, wouldn't it? But it's the truth.
Well, you said clowns, but you didn't qualify it as ass clowns. Now, if you said that, wait, I said it.
Yes, you did say it.
Oh, no,
we're in big trouble now.
Oh, boy.
But I don't understand how these guys get reelected. If you are as confused as we are, and we're just two guys, two regular people, we look at the southern border and we think, how in the name of heaven can these guys allow this to happen to our country with no ramification? They just do it. Just leave the door open, let them come on in, take whatever they want. They're here, fine. That's good. Just claim asylum and have a nice day. And we're being besieged by these people. If this was an army on the southern border doing what they're doing, they'd be all up in arms. They'd be sending battalions down to protect. But these are people who are coming across saying they're illegals. They're not carrying any weapons, but they are carrying drugs, and some of them are gang members. And we had what they say 140,000, 170,000 fentanyl deaths last year.
Oh, yeah. This war on drugs, it's crazy, and we could stop it, but we don't. And the media just discovered that secret underground tunnel that has been there for decades from south of the border into the United States. Although Trump mentioned it, and it's been mentioned before, nobody ever did anything. And now, there's actually, it's the illegals coming across. That's not the problem. It's that stupid tunnel over there. Really?
That's probably one of many tunnels, by the way. That's the one they probably found. They probably have several that are.
Well, you know what? Usually when they say something, they tell on themselves too. How do I know now that they're sitting there talking about the tunnel that there's not illegals, bad illegals coming in that way too?
Anyway,
You know?
George Bush fluffed up and he gave himself away, and he kind of irritates me. I don't know about you, but it kind of irritates me when I hear him laugh off the Iraq War. Like, yeah, well, I was listening to Tucker Carlson last night, who I think is a terrific host, and he said he said George Bush used to go around the White House. Maybe it was Greg Kelly who said this. George Bush used to go around the White House. Any weapons of mass destruction here? He'd go behind his secretary's desk. Any weapons of mass destruction here? Like it was a big joke. In the meantime, there are guys over. I think it was Greg Kelly. Because he was in the Iraq War. Greg Kelly was flying jets, over Iraq, and he didn't take too kindly to that sense of humor. But anyway,
Well, that's not a sense of humor. He was giving himself away. That was a witch hunt, and he knew it.
Steve Doocy was grilling Jean Pierre. That's not her first name. That's her last name, Jean Pierre. Her name is Karine Jean Pierre. She's the new press secretary. About a leaked memo showing that the Department of Homeland Security is bracing for violence if the Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade. And here's what Doocy said to Karine Jean-Pierre.
Bulletin now that DHS is worried if Roe v. Wade is overturned, there could be violence against the Supreme Court building or Supreme Court justices. Are these threats from pro-abortion activists or anti-abortion activists?
So look, the president is clear on this question. He believes the right to peacefully protest in this country is fundamental. But he also believes that violence, threats, and intimidation have no place in political discourse anywhere. That is true whether it is in front of a courthouse or in front of a healthcare clinic. And that's the thing. I feel it seems like to us it is very one-sided on what we call out as intimidation or as violence. So
she completely ignored his question. Ignored his question. Now, the thing that gets me about this thing is the leaked memo. And listen,
I was just going to say.
Yeah, listen to Catherine Herridge. Catherine Herridge is on CBS. She used to be on Fox, and she's probably one of the best reporters out there. And she asked the question too. Listen.
What really caught our attention here on the investigative team is how this intelligence report from Homeland Security has so much specificity about the threat environment here in the National Capital Region, and that includes the Supreme Court, Congress, as well as the executive branch. And it specifically cites that at least 25 threats on social media have been referred to partner agencies for further investigation, that these threats include a discussion of burning down or storming the Supreme Court, as well as attacks on Congress, as well as lawful demonstrations. And this is really a good template to understand how this online chatter can move from the virtual world to the real world, where it's significant and credible enough that it does demand further scrutiny.
Kind of amazing stuff. It's we have more leaks in Washington than I think the Titanic had. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's back this story up. The real issue is not an opinion piece, because it's an opinion piece, and that's what it is. I made some notes, but they are personal. I haven't made a decision yet. Oh, I got a hold of it. Oh, it got out. The leak is the story. Because if we're leaking this information, what the hell else are we leaking? And obviously, this is a leak to the liberal side, coming from the liberal side. So how are you getting this information? And why are you dispersing it? Oh, yes, okay. It promotes your agenda. That is where the leak is coming from. That's what's got to be addressed.
Mike,
that's got to be stopped. And the opinion is an opinion, but it doesn't say anything what the narrative is by the media.
My question is, are they going to blame the right for the riots, for the abortion ruling riots? I mean, it looks as if it's all going to be leftist protesters who vowed to cause trouble in D.C. should the Supreme Court rule against Roe versus Wade. So how can they blame the right for the riots that are being performed by the left? I don't understand that.
Well, I don't understand it either.
They'll try to figure it out. But we have to leave today's show with one thing which I thought was going to leave you with your mouth open, all right? They had some judiciary hearings yesterday in Washington, and they had some pro-life and pro-choice people testifying, and one congressman asked a pro-choice witness this question here.
What do you say a woman is?
I believe that everyone can identify for themselves.
Okay. Do you believe then that men can become pregnant and have abortions?
Yes.
Okay. This is what we're up against, folks. This is what we are up. Now, there was a time in my life when if I had ever heard that comment, I would have thought it was from like a Gene Wilder film or Animal House or something like that. But that was testified in front of the Judiciary Committee yesterday.
100,000 years from now, when somebody digs up your bones,
Yes.
do you know your bones, not all of them, but many of them, like, I don't know, the pelvic bone,
Yes.
is gender specific.
Yes.
So what the hell are you guys talking about? Oh, by the way, we got a new disease on the horizon. And
We do.
It's in Europe. It broke out in Boston, identified. Now it's
in New York.
cropping up in the United States.
Is it the one in New York too?
Monkeypox.
Yeah, monkeypox.
Which is passed either through saliva. You lay down, if you get it,
Yes.
you lay down on the bed, it's in the sheets, and it can sit there, and then the next person gets it, and you get little sores all over the place. Now, it started with animals.
Yes, monkeys, I bet.
Yeah, it did, But anyway, just so you know, there is no cure for this thing, but monkeypox is now going to be the next big outbreak. It's already popping up, but I take the words of...
They just extended the COVID pandemic through the month of July.
Well, WHO's taking that over so they can shut down our nation.
We got to talk about that on Monday, the WHO.
Yeah, under the control of... Well, yeah, it happens on Sunday. We may no longer be under the rule of the Constitution come Monday. Just so you know, and if you don't know about this, it's a biggie.
You got to read up over the weekend, friends. Read up over the weekend.
By the way, monkeypox, I take the advice of Peter Gabriel on this. He said, don't monkey with the monkey. You can shock the monkey.
Yes.
But don't monkey with the monkey.
Yes.
And whatever you do, don't sleep with the monkey because never mind.
Yeah.
My mind.
What you're saying is no monkey business. Is that what you're saying?
No monkeying around with a monkey because you never know where that gets you.
Hey, look at folks. Have yourself a great weekend. This one has been a fun week. Even though YouTube doesn't like us. And we
Screw
don't,
YouTube.
Yeah, we don't really care.
They can monkey with the monkey.
Yeah, right here, YouTube.
There you go, baby.
Right, I'm awfully glad this isn't television. Have a good day, Bill. See you Monday.
Shock the monkey.